You are listening to the Maple Footy Podcast. This is the unofficial football podcast of the North. I'm your host, Sam Little. Find me at official Sam Little on Instagram. There's nothing left to say except for sit back, enjoy, and welcome to the show.
Hello, yes, welcome back to the Maple Footy Podcast, the unofficial football podcast of the North. And we've got another Premier League recap coming your way just for you. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't get to watch a whole ton of Prem football this weekend. I was at an airport at an airport and an airplane for all of Saturday, and Sunday I got to watch the Chelsea-Liverpool game. So this will probably be a pretty Chelsea-Liverpool heavy episode. If that's not for you, then sorry. I tried here, guys. I tried to keep up with the games as best I could, but being in an airplane meant I couldn't really check my phone for constant updates on games or really watch any games or anything like that. I listen to some music, though, so if you want music recommendations, I'd recommend listening to some Noah Kahan, Stick Season, Frank Ocean, Blonde, Niall Horan, The Show, Ben Howard, Every Kingdom. What else did I listen to? Lord Huron, Long Lost. Some great albums. But anyways, this is a music recommendation podcast. That'll come out in 2 years' time. Right now, we're talking about the Premier League. But first, as has kind of become tradition, let's start with a segment I think I'm going to name the Maple Start. We're going to talk about some Canadian footballing news. So first, literally right as I was about to start recording, I've been recording for a little bit, recorded my Canada recap. It's up. Go listen to it if you haven't. I really liked it. I thought it was a great episode, but I'm pretty biased, so maybe you want to be the judge of that. Go listen to it. Tell me what you think. But literally right as I was about to start recording that episode, which feels like a little bit ago, the first NSL signings are here. This is coming from the True North Foot on Twitter. AFC Toronto have signed striker Jade Kovacic. I'm very sorry if I have butchered these names that I will be reading. Montreal Roses FC have signed Gabrielle Lambert, who's a goalkeeper, and a midfielder, Charlotte Bilbo. I'm very, very sorry. I haven't had the chance to look up how to pronounce their names. I literally went from doing that podcast to doing this one. I do very much apologize, but this is huge for the NSL as we've gotten, those are the first 3 signings of the league officially, so that's massive for the Canadian game in Canada, and we love to see it, we love to hear it, so that's pretty friggin' great if you ask me. So, last week I had pitched the idea of covering the CPL playoffs, given that that is Canada's footballing league. And yeah, we're doing it. We are doing it. 100% of people who voted on my other socials had said yes to do it. So we will be doing it. I'm looking forward to it. It will be a lot of fun. The CPL playoff coverage will start this week, of course. Wednesday, the 23rd, the first game will be played between York and Pacific FC. Then on Sunday is a doubleheader. Hamilton's Forge will face Cavalry in a rematch of last year's final with a spot on the line and hosting duties, I believe, up for grabs. On the same day, Atletico Ottawa will face the winner of the York Pacific match. Then the winner of that match will face the loser of Cavalry and Forge on November 2nd with a spot in the final up for grabs. Then the final will take place a week later on November 9th. Makes sense? Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. It's okay. I will hold your hand throughout. It's a different kind of format, but kind of a cool one, especially for a league with just 8 teams. Next step is hopefully to obviously expand the leagues, the teams in the league, and hopefully maybe with the market in Canada and potential cities and expansion, that could be a possibility. So hopefully we could see it happen very soon. I'm hopeful for it. I'm going to shoot for episode recaps to be hopefully the day after the games are played. So the game on the 23rd will go up hopefully on the 24th. The 27th will be the 28th. Hopefully. I am a one-person operation in school and working a job. So, and then trying to watch these games, make the episodes quality, because I want these episodes to be quality. I want these to be some of the best I've produced. I really, really want this league to get some eyeballs, ears, whatever on it, get the attention going, because it's a great league. It deserves Canada's support, and I just want these episodes to be really good. So if it takes a day or two, I do apologize, but I really do hope it will be worth it, and you will think the same. We will, of course, be rooting for Forge to win their 5th of 6. Last year, they broke that host curse by being the first hosting side to win. Now this year, they'll hopefully break that first place curse, as no team has ever finished first and has won that North Star Cup. Check my socials for any updates at all. Keep watching and following Canadian football, of course. Moving on for some more Canadian footballing news. In MLS playoff action, a lot of playoffs going on. Montreal and the Whitecaps enter the playoffs. Montreal will play Atlanta, and the winner will play Messi and Inter Miami. The Whitecaps will play Kamal Miller and Max Crepeau in the Portland Timbers, where TFC held their year-end press conference, where a lot was said. I would recommend going and watching some of it if you do have the time. Captain Jonathan Osorio said the club has lost its identity, and this is a massive offseason for the club. His manager, John Herdman, though, did praise Oso's first season as captain with great work ethic, leading by example, both understanding the other layers of leadership as well. Looking elsewhere in the MLS at some of our other Canadian boys, Schaffelberg grabbed a goal for Nashville over the weekend. But the question is, will it be his final match as a Nashville player? He and Canadian Lucas McNaughton will miss out on the playoffs, but someone who won't be missing out on the playoffs is Tani Oluwaseyi. He grabbed his 5th assist of the season in a 4-1 win over Kyle Hybert's St. Louis. Hybert remained on the bench as him and St. Louis miss out on the playoffs. But Tanny and St. Clair enter the playoffs with Minnesota in top form after that 4-1 thumping, as they'll be playing Real Salt Lake in the playoffs. Russell Rowe and Columbus ended their season strong with a 3-2 win over the New York Red Bulls, who will be their opponents in the first round of the playoffs, so hopefully they can replicate that win. And hoping at least either Canadian team or player will win the MLS playoffs this season. No Canadian team has won it since TFC in 2017, so it'd be nice to see maybe the Whitecaps or Montreal do that, or at least, like I said, a Canadian player, maybe a Kamal Miller, maybe a Max Crepeau winning that cup. Outside of that, it was a quiet weekend for Canadians outside of CPL and the MLS. Jonathan David captained Lille, which is a pretty big achievement, I would say, to a 0-0 draw with Monaco. Moise Bombito for Nice was a star, as he always is, in a 1-1 draw. And, I mean, he looked immense, as per usual. Cornelius started for Marseille in a 5-0 win, where Kone made his return to the match and got the final 20 minutes, having started on the bench. And Theo Bair got the last 15 minutes for Auxerre, as they got a pretty big win in their relegation battling season. Some exciting news for Hull City's Liam Miller, as he now has registered more goal-creating actions per 90 in the English Championship with Hull at 0.93 per match. That's pretty insane. That's about 1 goal-creating action per 90, so that's a great stat. Liam Miller's having a great season. Obviously, if you follow me, you know I'm a hardcore member of the Liam Miller Hive. In Canadian beauty, Alistair Johnston played the full 90 for Celtic this weekend against Aberdeen, where they actually blew a 2-0 lead and drew 2-2. A win would have brought Celtic 2 points clear of Aberdeen. Instead, they're left separated by goal difference. At the other end of the table with Junior Hoylett and Hibernian, they also blow a 2-1 lead. They were up 2-1 until the 93rd minute, but then lost 3-2 thanks to 2 stoppage time goals. Canadians can take some solace in the fact that Junior Hoylett was subbed off at 2-1 for his team, so the result leaves the Canadian at the bottom of the table, sadly. But enough Canuck talk. Let's talk Prem. And I'm sorry, guys, this is going to be heavily Liverpool and Chelsea centric. I do apologize. But the segments go match of the weekend, biggest winners of the weekend, biggest losers, not biggest losers. I need to update my note. I still have it as biggest losers. I call it biggest underwhelmers now. Biggest underwhelmers, best performance, moment of the weekend, relegation zone, European places, and title race. So let's get into it, guys. Match of the weekend. I can really only say one match. I only watched one match in its entirety. It is Liverpool-Chelsea. Now, I don't really think it was a great match. I'm not sure if that's an unpopular opinion or not. I actually thought it was very sloppy and a little bit boring, too. Both teams kind of struggled to really get a hold on the game. I thought the reffing was abysmal, by the way, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And yeah, I mean, I don't really have a whole ton to say on it. It was definitely not a classic Liverpool-Chelsea match that we may come to have been used to in previous seasons, but it wasn't the worst match that you'll ever see. It was still good, a little bit boring at parts, but I don't have any other matches to say. I didn't watch any other. Biggest winners of the weekend, I will actually say Liverpool once again. I think this is their friggin' 12th time as my winners of the weekend. They remain top of the table with a big win over Chelsea, of course. They're 4 points clear of Arsenal, and I can promise you, I will talk about Arsenal very soon. But Liverpool remain 4 points up on them and 1 point up on Manchester City, so we'll see how the rest of the season plays out, of course, but big win for Liverpool. As I keep saying, I'm not super duper impressed by Liverpool this season. Obviously, there's been moments where they've looked like a very good side, but what they're doing is they're not really performing well, but they're getting results. And as I've always maintained, that's what champions have to do. If you want to be a champion, even when you maybe don't deserve a win or result, you still graft it out. And that's kind of what they did here. Now, it isn't without controversy. Both Liverpool and Manchester City kind of had a little bit of a helping hand. Now, Liverpool is a bit more nuanced, I think, than Manchester City. So let me get into it a little bit. Liverpool was given a penalty in the first half against Chelsea, which I thought was a very light penalty, but it was given. The controversy here is, one, it was light, and two, there was a very similar challenge not given, for Chelsea at the other end, where Trent Alexander-Arnold kind of steps on Jadon Sancho's foot in the box, and Sancho does go down. To me, it's pretty much the same thing as the Curtis Jones penalty that is given for Liverpool. And to cover it in even more controversy, there's been new video that has shown that Curtis Jones actually handballed the ball. It was very much unintentional, but by the letter of the law, if the attacking player handballs the ball in the build-up to the play, it should be called, and no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So a lot of controversy there. Once again, I do think Liverpool were hard done by some calls in this game as well. But if we're kind of talking about top of the table getting helped a little bit here, I do think that they were, obviously, I don't want to say given this win, because they weren't given it, obviously. But to me, if you call the Curtis Jones one, I think you kind of have to call the Jadon Sancho one. I think they're two very similar challenges. To me, in my opinion, by the way, for my money, neither one's a penalty. I didn't think anything in this game should have been given as penalties, but alas, Liverpool gets the penalty. They do score, and they do win. Now, moving on to kind of cities, I think theirs is a lot less nuanced than Liverpool's. At least Liverpool's, I can kind of go, yeah, I've seen those penalties given, handball on Jones or not, foul or not, I've seen those given, Manchester City's Bernardo Silva is in an offside position, and it was past the 90 minutes. It was in stoppage time, one of the last kicks of the game. Bernardo Silva is in an offside position, blocking the Wolves goalkeeper's view. And then John Stones heads in the winning goal. Now, a lot's been said about this. It was actually given as an offside on the field, but then after VAR examination, they deemed that it shouldn't have been offside, or maybe I'm getting that mixed up. Maybe it was vice versa. But either way, someone had given it not as offside and someone had given it as offside. Referee goes to the monitor. The goal gets given. Now, Bernardo Silva is in the line of sight of the goalkeeper, but then ducks as the ball is coming at the goalkeeper, and that is what is believed to have saved Manchester City here, which I think is a weak argument. He's blocking his line of sight for 95% of the play. And then as the ball is coming at the keeper, he's moved. Not when the ball is kicked either, because if the ball is, say, if he had moved before the ball was kicked, then you can go, okay, maybe he's not offside. But the ball had, to my knowledge from watching the video, had already been left John Stones. And then Bernardo Silva kind of moved. So to me, he's offside, and it should be offside. It shouldn't be a goal. But as the Wolves manager kind of did say, in a roundabout way, I'm very much paraphrasing him here, the big teams kind of seem to get those results, whereas the smaller teams kind of don't. That is extremely paraphrased, but that was essentially the gist of the quote. So just kind of thought that was kind of interesting, seeing the two top teams kind of helped out a little bit. Now, this isn't me, running the agenda of Machester City or Liverpool, just something that I kind of wanted to talk about whilst we were talking about the top of the table. I know a lot of big teams, Chelsea, United, Liverpool, City, Arsenal, they all tend to benefit from VAR a lot more than, say, the smaller clubs. So I just kind of wanted to mention this because it played a big part in the title race this weekend, as the referees seem to always do. And I'm sure that Liverpool and City will be on the short end of the stick probably next week, if we're being honest, with how quickly VAR decides to change up on everyone. But with that long tangent out of the way, let's move on to biggest losers. Biggest underperformers. I'm going to change the note right now. I'm going to change it in live time. Biggest losers is gone. Biggest underperformers is officially written into the note. So biggest underperformers, it's really tough for me to say anybody but Arsenal. But Sam, they got a red card. I'm so sick of Arsenal running the victim campaign. I'm sick of it. I don't know if I'm the only person. I'm probably the only person that cares, because who cares about Arsenal? But I'm so sick of Arsenal running this little victim campaign that they're running. It's annoying, it's boring, and it's just such an excuse. Like, week 3-ish? Start of the season, Declan Rice is sent off for kicking the ball away and getting a second yellow. You would think you would hold a disciplinary meeting, but no, they cry to the media instead. Okay, cool. And then a couple weeks later, another one of your players is sent off. I can't remember which player it is. I'm sorry, it has escaped me. But regardless, another player is sent off for you. No disciplinary, nothing. It was Trossard against City. There we go. Trossard against City, sent off for doing the same thing that Declan Rice did. They blame the refs again. The refs are against us. The refs are against us. Oh my gosh, I'm so sick of hearing that bullshit. The Big Six, I'm sorry, guys. And I'm a Big Six supporter because I like Chelsea. We get the calls a lot more often than other teams. I'm not saying VAR doesn't go against us, but my goodness, Arsenal, please come up with something a little bit different, a little bit interesting. Holy shit. And then William Saliba gets sent off against Bournemouth this weekend. And what is the excuse for Arsenal losing? Well, William Saliba was sent off. Yes, he should have been. He fully takes down a player, last man back, but it's far away from the goal. Why are your players consistently putting themselves into these positions? And if you notice, Saliba doesn't argue after he gets sent off. He gets the red card. He knows he should get that red card. That's why he gets sent off. And then after the game, you have Declan Rice walking up to the officials saying every week it's the same. Stop playing the victim card. Start performing. It's such an embarrassment that these guys are considered title contenders. At least Liverpool and Manchester City, when they're title contending, they go out and play. They get calls for them. They get calls against them. They complain in the media. Yeah, sure. But then guess what? What do they do the next week? They adjust. They go out and they play. If Virgil van Dijk got sent off in week 3 for kicking a ball away, do you think that then Alexis McAllister, a couple weeks later, in a massive game, by the way, would do the same thing? No. And if he did, do you then think that Konate, say, would then pull a guy down a couple of games later when he really doesn't have to? No, because they know how to do it in a title race. Arsenal doesn't. They sit and complain and they sit and complain. And it's so infuriating. And I'm so glad that they lost because these guys are frauds. They're so overrated. And the more points that they drop, the happier I am. I'd so much rather see a Liverpool City title race than whatever the hell Arsenal want to call a title race. Anyways, I got a little bit worked up. Let's move on to best performance. And we will talk about a Liverpool player because it is the game I watched. Curtis Jones, what a performance from the young Scouser. I thought he was very, very good against Chelsea. Like it or not, he's the one that wins the penalty for Liverpool. Big influence on the game there. And then, of course, gets the match winner. Nice little bit of control and a nice calm finish past Robert Sanchez. And not just that, I thought he was all over the pitch. He was really covering a lot of ground, looked real busy, and not in a bad way. I don't mean that in a bad way. He looked really busy. He was breaking up play, trying to really link up with Mo Salah, Darwin Nunez when he came on. And it felt like that coming of age performance for Curtis Jones. It feels like he's really matured over the last few seasons, and it's nice to see a young midfielder kind of, get the time and the backing to be able to develop into a player that a lot of Liverpool fans thought that he could develop into. And he is getting to that point. Hopefully, knock on wood, he can stay healthy. You don't want to see any player go out injured, but I know he has struggled with his injury issues. Another big performance that I do want to highlight just for my own personal good is Reece James got to play football. And oh my gosh, I missed watching Reece James play football. I love Reece James. And as a Chelsea fan, I will never, ever not back this guy. I absolutely adore him. He's so good. I'm so glad he's back. And I'm just hoping, once again, knocking on wood, that he can stay healthy. Moment of the weekend, I will say, for me personally, I will say Reece James getting the start for Chelsea, getting to play for Chelsea, and I thought he looked really good for the 50 minutes he played, and I, once again, just hope he can stay healthy because my life is better when I get to watch Reece James play football. Moving into the relegation zone here, Wolves, after I had kind of talked a little bit in depth about them, I think, getting hard done by with another call, as they seem to be on the hard end, the what's the saying, the shit end of the stick for VAR calls. I think that once again they had fought hard to kind of get that City draw, and then to kind of get a call go against you that probably shouldn't in the last minutes. It's a tough one to take, especially when they've been struggling for points and struggling for form all season. I still maintain the fact, guys, Wolves will turn this around. I really, really do. I just think, though, that now 8 games in on 1 point, I could look like an idiot come the end of the season. But I'm still sticking to it. I do think that Wolves do stay up. Southampton just above them on goal difference alone, stay on 1 point as well. Not a good time to be a Saints fan, I don't think. I still maintain the fact that they're going down again, and I think it's even worse that they were up 2-0, and then they go down 3-2 to relegation. You would assume will be one of the relegation competitors, Leicester. So it is. I think that's really tough for Saints fans to swallow because you kind of had the 3 points, and then you let Leicester back into the game. You lose 3-2, and Ryan Fraser kind of does you no favors getting a red card. Jamie Vardy then converts a penalty, and then you're maybe just hoping that you see it out, but it's not meant to be. In the 98th minute, Jordan Ayew ends up scoring to see out the 3 points, and rounding out the bottom 3, Crystal Palace remain, I believe, winless all season, stuck on 3 points. Once again, kind of like Wolves, I do think they turn this around. I think they're too talented not to. But once again, I could end up looking like an idiot come the end of the season when Wolves and Palace are both relegated, and I have the biggest smile on my face. But I do think they do turn this around. But it's another real tough 1-0 loss to take from Nottingham Forest as the Monday night game. It's really hard because I watched, once again, was only able to watch the highlights for this one, but you could tell how hard Palace was working, but it just wasn't meant to be, I guess. I don't know. But something needs to change for some of these teams, especially Palace and Wolves. They're too good to be stuck on 1 and 3 points 8 games into the season. So we'll kind of see how that turns around. I still do maintain the fact neither of them are going down. But like I said, fully ready to look like an idiot come the end of the season. But that's okay. Moving into the European places, Chelsea, of course, falling out of the top 4 for the first time in a couple of weeks. Aston Villa and Brighton moving up there. Tottenham and Forest are both 1 point off of Chelsea in 6th, and then 2 points off of Brighton in 5th. So it's pretty close for that 4th place, I would say. Villa and Arsenal, sorry, that would be 5th place. Villa and Arsenal are tied on points, 17 apiece, but Arsenal leads them by goal difference, just by 2. Interesting to see there. I think Liverpool and City are, I don't want to say locks for Champions League because it is still a long season, still 30 games left, but I really don't see them not getting Champions League, if you ask me. But yeah, the rest of them, I still maintain the fact that Chelsea does get Champions League, and probably Arsenal will too. I would love if Arsenal didn't because they're an embarrassment in Europe anyways. It's kind of a waste of a European spot. But I do think that Arsenal probably will get that Champions League spot. But yeah, it's good to see teams, as I've been saying, like Brighton, Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, all still in the hunt here. I know we're only 8 games in, but it is very nice to see. And of course, I kind of did devote a lot of time to the title race between City and Liverpool and Arsenal because I do still think they are in the title race. It is getting interesting because none of them are playing greatly, in my opinion. City has really struggled post-Rodri, which was expected, but you would have thought that by now they may have kind of worked something out, and they still are struggling too. Liverpool, I still don't think are playing amazing, but are grafting out results. And Arsenal are, as much as it does kill me, they are a title, quote-unquote, a title contender. By default, okay? I'm not giving them too much, all right? But technically, they are a title contender, okay? You happy? All right, whatever. But yeah, no, I think it's very interesting at the top of the table there. And next weekend, Liverpool, let's see who they got. Liverpool will be facing, drumroll, please, as I'm waiting for my app to... Oh, shoot. Liverpool face Arsenal next weekend. So a big clash at the top of the table for them. We will be hoping that Liverpool destroys Arsenal next weekend. And Manchester City will have, drumroll, please, as I wait for my app to load. Manchester City play Southampton, so, I mean, no 3 points are guaranteed, but you got to figure that City will be watching that Liverpool game. having already got the 3 points against Southampton, and they will be watching that Liverpool game going, yeah, all right. One of you is dropping, or maybe both of you are dropping points if you draw. So City may have a nice weekend next weekend, whereas Liverpool or Arsenal, one or both of them could be dropping points. But yeah, that does it for me this week. You've heard my voice a lot if you've listened to both episodes back to back, and we have another episode coming for you later this week as the CPL playoffs kick off. So definitely stick around. Listen to those. I thought that the Canada episode I just did was great, and I thought this one was pretty good too. I got to vent about Arsenal a good amount, which I'll never complain about. I love getting a vent about them. But yeah, other than that, yes, check my socials for when the Canadian Premier League playoff episodes will be going up. I'll be uploading a little bit more, not on the Tuesdays as I've kind of adopted. I will still upload on Tuesdays. It won't just be Tuesdays over the next couple of weeks with the CPL playoffs. So stick around. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you will continue to enjoy. Thank you so much for listening if you've listened all the way through, and if you've listened to both episodes that I've dropped this week. So yeah, other than that, thank you so much. Follow along. I do appreciate it. And until next time, cheers, everyone.
And that was your Maple Footy podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Check my socials for any and all future updates at Official Sam Little on Instagram, where I am most active. And until next time, live, laugh, little.